Hey everybody, how's it going? I want to say an absolutely massive thank you to the overwhelming response from that video just 2 weeks ago. It was quite a weird one to make. Never in a million years would I have expected so many positive replies, so many comments, so many people sharing their own personal experiences of adversity of some kind or things just not quite going to plan. I think it helps everyone to share stories like that because it's so easy to build up this fake reality that social media tells us. Like, it looks like we all ride bikes and we all live in the sunshine. Probably couldn't be further from the truth for many of us. So massive thank you for sharing that. And it made me think that actually there's a little bit that I learned on that journey that I think I'd quite like to share with you. Things that I found personally that helped. And I think it'd be beneficial to try and share that with everyone as well. So here goes. First off, it's the last day of British summertime, which is normally quite a sad time of year. I'm weirdly looking forward to the winter now. Like, I used to love it as an athlete, getting ready to go training again. Start on the 1st of November. Everything you'd learned that year, you could put right, address everything that went wrong. But this year I'm looking forward to it just because the indoor training sessions, genuinely enjoy that. So that'll be a bit of fun. So things that I learned along my little journey that I think are incredibly beneficial for other people are, first and foremost, to understand why things are difficult, you have to fully accept what it is. That was kind of the title of the last video, wasn't it? Accepting change. But before you can accept the change, you have to accept why things are difficult, why things are changing. You have to fully understand your situation, because without doing that, you don't know what you're working with properly. So how can you possibly start to build and work forwards? So getting a really good, deep understanding of what's going on, why things are happening, what's causing you stress, what's causing you dissatisfaction in life, or whatever it is. It's just highlight what it is, and then you can start to deal with it. And I think that's the most important thing. Ultimately, that often takes a lot longer than we perhaps like to admit. So you kind of rely on people around you noticing changes, behavioural changes and habits, attitudes, just little things that add up. So if someone says to you, not quite yourself, are you? And you might brush it off and be like, no, I'm fine. But actually that should be your first sign that, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe things aren't quite as they should be. Which leads me on to a very important point, actually. I noticed when I look back that I had a lot of events, I suppose you could call them, that in my mind were like this cry for help. And I was kind of aware that they were happening, but I probably wasn't aware why I was doing it and all of the rest of it. But I was kind of like, come on, somebody's got to notice this and say something. But actually, there's only one person that can answer any cry for help, and that has to come from you personally. Because unless you do something about it, nothing's ever going to change. Like, somebody can't change your life. You have to do it yourself. And I think I wish I was quicker to learn that one. You definitely need to be on top of anything that's going on, try and deal with it as soon as possible, which is easier said than done. To complete step one though, you might first have to do step two, which is to talk to someone. Opening up, talking about what's going on is probably the hardest thing to do. You keep things from your best friends, from your partners, difficulties that you're having, because I suppose it's ingrained in us that we should deal with things ourselves, and we don't want to show weakness, certainly coming from sport, where everything is about being as strong as possible all the time. Whilst that is wildly unrealistic, that is just the way it is. That's how you feel. You feel that by saying, oh, hang on, this isn't right, that someone will judge you for that. No one's going to judge you by standing up and saying, hang on a minute, this isn't good, this isn't right. It's probably the hardest step, like I said, but talking to a friend, loved one, someone you don't know, a professional, all of those things make a massive difference. There's an old saying, problem shared is a problem halved. They weren't wrong. Sharing your problems may not halve them, but it is a massive step to take on the way to improving whatever it is that you're dealing with. I'd like to point out at this stage, I am by no means an authority on this topic. I think We all probably guessed that already. But it's my own experience, and hopefully my experience, if it helps just one person, will have been well worth recording. I think ultimately that's why I started making videos in the first place, was I enjoy helping people, whether that's learn to ride their bikes better, get fitter, get faster, whatever it is. I like the idea that someone will benefit from the advice. So if just one person benefits, I'd be very grateful. This is St Agnes Beacon, one of my absolute favourite places to ride, and the view on a clear day like today is just amazing. You can see way up past Newquay, and when you look down there you can see way past St Ives, which are both pretty well-known places where I live. Lovely road, nice and quiet. It's Saturday, it's just before 9 o'clock, so it's nice and early. It's wet. This is the worst weather for riding a bike, when it's beautiful weather, beautiful sunshine, and the roads are soaking wet and it's actually cold. Although I'm not wearing gloves, so it's not that cold, is it? It's beautiful, lovely. I would like to add that whilst sport is tough, it's not that hard. Life as an athlete is much easier than life as a normal civilian. Life as an athlete is exciting. You get to travel, you have these massive goals, you have these huge highs. Equally, you have huge lows, and it's hard, but it is not as hard as normal daily life, I promise you that. The reason is, as an athlete, you spend your whole time focusing on having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good days at work a year. And then bang, all of a sudden you're worth a lot more, you're a better athlete for it, your salary increases, life improves. As a normal person, you have to turn up, you have to do that every single time if you want to improve your salary in your life. Life as an athlete is so much easier than it is afterwards. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. And I can say that, having now experienced both worlds. I'm going to very quickly add that I think setting yourself targets and challenges is so important as well. Then you have something to work towards, and you can achieve something or not. Actually not achieving it doesn't even matter. Trying to achieve it is what counts. So whether that's, I don't know, a social event or a sporting event. When I say a social event, organised to do something with friends, with people. If it's a sporting event, challenge yourself to some sort of a run or a bike ride, just a new challenge that you've not done before. It's a big motivator, something to focus on, and when you have focus, it kind of distracts you from other things that are going on. It's really healthy. Highly recommend doing that. Next up is one that I think is really important to me personally, but I think it could probably benefit a lot more people on the whole. That is physical fitness and mental health. Genuinely believe they're heavily intertwined. You don't have to do a huge amount of physical exercise to feel better. Even 30 minutes, even 15 minutes of intense exercise, guaranteed to help you feel that little bit better. I'm not a scientist, I can't go into the ins and whys and hows and all the rest of it, but endorphins, chemical releases, things like that are all triggering your brain, your nervous system, and that is going to help you feel better. When I retired from racing and obviously did a lot less exercise, I found it really hard. I felt really stressed a lot of the time. And actually getting back on my bike, this is the easiest form of fitness for me, I'm already relatively well adapted to doing it, made me feel a lot better. And the other thing to remember with fitness, it's only ever relative to ourselves. Fitness never stays the same, and comparing yourself to someone else is kind of pointless really. So just try and improve your own physical fitness ever so slightly, and it will make you feel better. If you feel better about your body physically, it then leads on to feeling better mentally. And that leads me on to my two final little ones really. Getting good rest, good sleep makes a huge difference. When you're tired, things are so much harder. And then when you're well rested, even now if I'm tired, I always feel worse than when I'm well rested and recovered. So just going to bed, having a little bit of sleep discipline, going to bed on time makes a big difference. Equally, making sure you don't have to get up too early, too often, without having acquired the adequate amount of sleep. And then finally, that also leads on to foods and drinks and things like that. I gave up alcohol for 3 months this year. Didn't notice the difference at the time. It's only when you then relax those self-inflicted bans that you start realizing, oh wow, there was a difference. There are foods and drinks out there which aren't doing us any good at all. They're adding stress to our bodies. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. Just enjoy things in moderation. Just don't use them and drink and eat every single day as if it was a party. So little tiny tips, little things that make a big difference. Just limiting the things which are quite well-known causes of stress is always going to benefit your mental health as well. I feel like I've gone on a little bit there. This video is really meant to be a thank you to the overwhelming response last week. Really, really appreciate it, to the point that I don't even know what to say to some of the comments. It's really hard to answer them all individually with the same sort of attention that they all deserve and require. But thank you everyone, I've read every single one of them. Right, I'm gonna ride home now. It's been a beautiful ride. I've avoided the rain, sun is out, the clouds are behind me, and it's a fast tailwind section all the way back home, I think anyway. See you in the next one.